Feels like everybody's trying to do everything in their power to make me not play football, and I feel like I'm fighting it, like fighting everybody else. Like, I just want to play ball. That's all I want to do.
Joe Burrow, his midweek press conference a week after he was dejected on his 29th birthday, said he's not having fun playing football, wants to have fun again, said he's got some things going on professionally and personally. The injuries, you could tell, have weighed on him. How couldn't they? Surgery, missing time, working to get back, disappointing losses when you do get back. And I like the fact that we didn't get cliches. The problem is, and this is one of Jason Garrett's issues with media and just the approach generally, we don't want the cliches, but when they give us anything other than cliches, then it turns into a big mess.
Right.
And that's what happens. But we do want real. We do want authentic. We don't want talking points. We don't want the same old. But yeah, when they give us, and maybe it's because it's so rare that they give us something real, that's what makes it a big deal. If they would just be real all the time, it would just become background noise. Maybe that's the solution. Just ditch the cliches, tell us the truth, and then it's not a big deal when somebody does say the truth.
Well, yeah, I mean, I hear you there to a degree, but I do think it's rare when you start talking about, franchise quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the game, been to the Super Bowl with this team, been to an AFC championship not too long ago, and there's cryptic language being thrown out there. I mean, sorry, that's going to be a story. That's going to be a story. And I love Joe Burrow's honesty. I appreciate it. And I love the fact that he kind of puts the hot poker on Cincinnati a lot because they need it. They definitely do. But within comments like we just showed there in that clip, like it seems like people are trying to make me not. That's where I want to go, what? What do you mean? Everybody would get on their knees and beg you to continue to play football. You're the one that made it sound like you weren't sure about football, so we're questioning it. It's not that, it's the other way around. And then also within that, some of the way you talked last week certainly makes us, just lends us to believe a little bit like, is he happy there? Is he happy with the situation? Right? What is it? We don't know, but when you're Joe Burrow, you've crossed the line and you're a superstar. You're one of the biggest stars in the country in any capacity, anything you want to talk about, entertainment, acting, whatever. Everybody knows Joe Burrow now. So, yeah, we're going to listen and we're going to wonder when you say stuff like that.
Everybody knows Joe Burrow, and the people who don't think he's Macaulay Culkin. So Burrow made it clear yesterday he's going to keep playing because those were the two takeaways last week.
Yeah.
Is he thinking about retiring like Andrew Luck? Is he thinking about trying to get out of Cincinnati like Carson Palmer? Palmer made his power play after 8 years in the NFL. This is year number 6 for Joe Burrow. And it was inescapable that those were the rational conclusions. Now, some of the reporting over the weekend, he doesn't want out of Cincinnati. Look, I think part of the play is you can't make it look like you want out of Cincinnati. I got a theory on that I'll share with you after we hear Joe Burrow. Here's the question he was asked and his answer regarding a potential future in football, not in Cincinnati.
Is there any world in your mind where you're not the quarterback of the Bengals next year?
I can't see that, no.
Have you ever thought about the possibility of not being the quarterback here during your career, or?
You think about a lot of things.
You think about a lot of things. Look, I think if he's ever going to make a play to get out of Cincinnati, it's going to be crafted in a way that gets the Bengals to decide to trade him without him having to ask to be traded. And the best example that I can come up with, if you ever been in a relationship at any point in your life where you wanted out, but you thought it would be better if the other person decided that they wanted out.
Yeah.
All things considered,
right.
My best exit strategy is to get the other person to break up with me.
I think
right?
that's what my wife is doing with me on a pretty consistent basis, actually, now that you're saying it. I'm going, I think I have been in this situation. I think my wife is actively trying to make that happen, yes.
I kind of think that if he ever does mobilize the plan. And maybe we're in the very early stages of turning the key on the engine. I feel like, because nobody wants to be the villain. He doesn't want to take a heel turn, right?
Right.
If he would ever leave the Bengals, he would want, and I think a reasonable person would want, it to not be him spurning Cincinnati because he's from Ohio. It's one of the reasons he didn't make a power play. As we've said before, if he was from Athens, Georgia, not Athens, Ohio, he wouldn't have played for the Bengals, or he at least would have tried not to play for the Bengals in 2020. So I just kind of think that these are the baby steps toward. This is what the business types call pre-positioning. This is getting people comfortable with the idea of what could be coming. So it's not a big surprise when it happens. The big surprise happens now, and the reaction is, oh, whew, he's still here. But when it does happen, whether it's him, whether he's able to convince the Bengals to do it, we're not going to be as surprised. We definitely aren't going to be as surprised as we would have been because of what's gone on the last 2 weeks.
I'm not so sure these aren't the most shocking comments of all. That's what I would say. Even in lieu of all the stuff he said last week, the answer could have been very easy here. Very easy. If you ask Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, right, who were on the Mount Rushmore with, Lamar and Joe Burrow as the best quarterbacks, I don't think there's any doubt if you ask them, they'd be like, no way. I can't imagine ever not being in Buffalo or in Kansas City. No way. I'm here forever. I want to be the best player. I think you would get those answers. The fact that Joe Burrow even said that, to me, is, yes, a little bit like, whoa, okay, right. And I agree with your assessment there, along with what we heard last week. And then to say that, where he could have just gave a very simple, plain answer and squashed it. Okay, he said, hey, 2026, yeah, I can't envision anything but me being here. But after that, you think about things, right? I don't think you would have got that answer from Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Mahomes, any of those type of guys, right? And that, to me, definitely makes me perk up in my seat a little bit.
Yeah, and again, if it happens this offseason, next offseason, whenever, and you know what's going to happen, the Bengals are going to get calls this offseason.
Definitely.
Because it already happens. I love it when one of the insiders will breathlessly report that these two teams talked about the possibility of general managers. They know all the other general managers. They flip through the phone. They call them. They text them. You're not doing your job. I remember when the Commanders, when Martin Mayhew was the GM, he got dragged because they called the Chiefs to inquire as to whether or not Patrick Mahomes was available.
Right.
And everybody thought, well, that's a joke. Of course he's not available. But the whole story was they were calling every team because they thought they got screwed the year before because Matthew Stafford was available.
Right.
And it was an inside deal between the Rams and the Lions.
Right.
So we're not going to miss out this time.
Yep.
We're going to turn over every stone, even the most obvious one that doesn't have anything under it. We're going to call every team. So those conversations happen all the time. And I guarantee you, as these teams out there start looking at their options for 2026, there will be a phone call made to Cincinnati by one or more teams to inquire as to whether or not there's a possibility of trading Joe Burrow. And I think those calls are going to come every offseason until he either retires or is traded.
Yeah, it's definitely going to happen. I mean, it doesn't make much for a team to call. Right? I mean, I've known coaches where, hey, it's you wrote an article or somebody else wrote an article about I think this guy might be available and not even, or this makes sense to trade. And the team goes, hey, I just got a call to check. Like, I read this article today and they talked about it and I just got to call and check. It might be stupid. I get it, but I got to call and check. So, yeah, that's a very real thing in the NFL for sure. And you're right. The Matthew Stafford thing, I think, made everybody go, wait, I think we need to call and be a little bit more deliberate because it caught not only them by surprise, a bunch of other teams that we know tried to get in the mix real late, but the inside job was already in the workings there between Detroit and L.A. And, yeah, a lot of people felt like they were left out in the dark on that one.
And it wasn't any personal corruption. The Rams needed to offload Jared Goff in a way that wasn't obvious. They didn't want to do a Brock Osweiler deal where they sent Goff plus a first-round pick to the Browns. So they tuck Goff into the Stafford trade, give up 2 1s and a 3, with the 1 and the 3 being for Stafford and the extra 1 being thank you for taking Jared Goff. That's what makes Goff's ascension in Detroit even more fascinating, because the Rams were done with him and the Lions took him on kind of like reluctantly, and then they turned him into a badass. It really is amazing. We'll see what happens. Maybe Jared Goff for Joe Burrow. Maybe that'll be the trade that happens this offseason. But why would you not call? And the other reason to call is this. Number 1, is he available? Number 2, what do you want? And even if the team isn't going to give the Bengals what they want, that informs conversations with others about possible trades. Well, the Bengals want this for Burrow, so here's the fair compensation for this guy. It's a living, breathing organism with 32 arms, and they're always communicating with each other about everything. So there will be conversations about Joe Burrow, whether he's traded or not.